Hi, fellow birdies, and welcome to another edition of Mr. Songbird's Writing Mukbang. How have you guys been doing? It's been, well, at this point it's going to be like, what, a day before a week since I filmed, but it's only been a few days since I last posted a video. I was really intrigued to see some of the comments, and I've decided to take some of them to heart and how we're going to do this. So what I'm going to do with this one is, there's going to be I'm reviewing one book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or Philosopher's Stone in the original British. I'm going to do two versions of the review. One's at the beginning. It's going to be spoiler free, minus like very, very general stuff. And then for those who wait to the end, the ending, at the end I'll do a more spoiler full review. So if you want to avoid spoilers, make sure to click off right then. I'll give you guys a warning though. First, let's talk the first book of Harry Potter. Everyone, and a lot of people have seen the series, watched the movies, read the books, even listened to them on cassette. I did. I wanted to talk about what the writer did right, especially in the first chapter or two. In the very first scene of the book, you've got Vernon Dursley. And in a very short amount of time, she gives us a very important gist of it, of how he, what kind of person he is. Oh, I forgot to mention, lentil and sausage stew. Very good. I got it originally for a side, but frankly became a main dish because I liked it so much. Now, in the first scene of the first book, you get the sense of a very ordinary person, but there's an extraordinary world around this one. It's set in not modern, at least not anymore. Like, gosh, it's the 80s. It's set in a time period before I was born. Yes, I know I look kind of older. But it's got very real details that make you feel like it, like the mention of bonfire night, the and basically the way you have the strange things going on, slowly building up, gets you a bit of a feel for the story, while at the same time you're centered in that's reality. It's our reality, just with things outside of that we wouldn't expect to see. And then, of course, the end of the first chapter is where you start seeing that it's not just weird people. There's magic involved. And then, of course, there's all the owls, but, that's kind of a given. I really like how it sets you in the world for, like, you haven't even met, the main character yet. You haven't even met Harry in this chapter. The only mention of him is, some people talking about him. But even then, it just says some infant who had apparently done something. As a writer, one thing that I found is a lot of people want to introduce the character right off the bat. I'm, Cecil Cecilson. I have blue hair, green eyes, and, a very cool leather black jacket. Very cool. Plus, I have a mohawk. That's not actually what the reader wants to read. In my book, we get only the faintest glimpses of Rian as a person in the first chapter, even though he's a main character. He's the main viewpoint character throughout this story. We don't actually know much what he looks like until about midway towards the end of the second chapter. Instead, I introduce you to the characters around him, and through his opinions of them, you learn something of Rian. One thing that I've been asked about is, once you get started, how do you keep going? I'll tell you what I used to do, and then I'll tell you what I do currently. What I used to do, full on seat of the pants. I'd have an idea of where I was going, but I wouldn't outline or do nothing about it. I'd just, say, okay, here's what I'm planning to do in the next few chapters, and I'd boom, 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 write it. That led to some significant problems because in many cases, I'd find that, I'm not, and this is a bad direction to go. I should swap directions. But in this case, since I'd been writing a chapter by chapter release kind of thing, I was kind of committed to that story, even though the plot didn't work as well as I would have liked. That's not to say there aren't great authors who can't write by seat of the pants. I can't think of one off the top of my head, unfortunately. Problems of doing this without planning that part ahead. I found for myself that it's best to create an outline of some sort, at least a written down plan of what what's happening and what's the key events of the story. How detailed does that outline have to be? That's up to you. I tend to go pretty broad. Like, not too much in the way of details. Just like, at the gate, he's asked by a guard a bored-sounding question, kind of thing. Who are you? Just enough so that I can keep track of what's going on. Now, that isn't to say I won't adapt as the story goes on. For example, I've already found in the current book, the second one that I'm working on, that I need while my outline would go well, I'm going to tweak a bit early on so that it more reflects the character's actions. Like, the character should earn their way through the book. Their actions determine their results. And not just in the sense of he does something right, good things happen to him, but each should face him, give him new challenges to overcome. For example, the main character defeats the evil bandits, only to find out that the captive that they were in the process of ransoming is the daughter of the evil king, and now he has to deal with that problem. In short, I would recommend outlining, at least in some basic detail, of what you want to write in your story, if you intend to write a story. Now, I'm curious, for those of you who are in the audience, which of you would like to write a story of your own? Like, who has plans or dreams of becoming a writer themselves? Please feel free to let me know in the comments below. Some ways I avoid burnout, which is very important when you're planning to do a set amount per day. I write multiple things at the same time. When I'm struggling on writing my main book, I'll do some practice writing, simply copying over an experienced writer so I can see how he writes. Like I said, I learn by doing. Or maybe I'm in a more romancy, wouldn't that be sweet kind of mood. So I'll work on my romance. Sometimes I have a different plot idea altogether. I'll jot a few ideas down. The most important thing I found is that you keep writing every day. Because when I just had the goal of write this book, I not only would I not write as much, but I often felt guilty when I was writing something other than my book. Because even though I might enjoy writing it, I'd be thinking, I could be using this time to write on my book. So what that meant was that if I was, not feeling writing my main book, I might not write at all because I didn't want to feel guilty for not writing on it. Kind of like you're cheating on your lover. But at the same time, I didn't want to write in the main book because I was bored. By making plans to write a certain amount per day regardless, one that often, caused me to find inspiration when I didn't expect it, but also it took away that feeling of guilt. Yes, I might spend half an hour one day working on some fan fiction that obviously will never sell because total plagiarism. Well, not plagiarism because I'm not plagiarizing, but copyright. That's what I'm looking for, copyright. But I have no reason to, feel guilty because I know I'll still be writing on my main stuff as well. Now, as promised, I'm going to go into full review of this first Harry Potter book again, but this time with more spoilers. I won't discuss stuff we already discussed. I want to discuss more in the sense of foreshadowing and why I feel an outline is very helpful for that. So, for those of you who don't want to be spoiled for the first Harry Potter book, click off now. I will not mind. One thing I think that the writer J.K. Rowling did very excellently is foreshadowing. There's a bunch of stuff in every book of Harry Potter that turns out to be critical later on, both within the same book and later books. And for that, I feel you need to have an outline. So you can plan out these things you're going to, make important later on, early on. We know from the beginning that, Severus Snape hates Harry. It's very, very, very clear. But she also foreshadows little bits that... Let me talk also about, plot twists as well as foreshadowing, because with the end of the first book, we discover that Snape is actually not the bad guy. That was clear all along. Even though the whole book is implying that Snape is the villain, working for the Dark Lord. And she brilliantly foreshadows that red herring through, obviously, his hatred of Harry, his plan, like the whole Quidditch game where he nearly perishes, is cursed off his room. While it appears that Snape is responsible. But at the same time, it's a red herring. The truth is, of course, that Snape is trying to protect Harry as much as he hates him. The way she does it is she doesn't contradict any of the facts that we learned early on, but provides additional context. For example, Hermione's completely right when she says that you need to maintain complete eye contact on Harry in order to curse him or his broom, and Snape wasn't blinking. But then we find out that that's true. Quirrell was doing that, and Snape was doing that so he could do the counter curse. With a plot twist, in a red herring situation like that, what's very important is to basically, how to put this, you want to give the reader just enough information to make them think that they know everything. While everything we saw in the first book implied that Snape was the villain until the very end. But when you look back and you know the truth, you can see the foreshadowing. Why did Dumbledore trust Snape in spite of everything? Why did Hagrid? Because he genuinely was the good guy, albeit an incredible jerk. Now, in your own book, you can foreshadow yourself, with the outline as well. I basically make plans for, here's the plot twist. Here's what I want to do to foreshadow towards it. Now, I believe that's pretty much all. I'm going to finish this last bite, and I'm going to bid you farewell for today. Talk to you guys next week. Bye, fellow birdies.